This week is going to get crazy. So listen. On Tuesday, the 5th of November, we have the election results coming out. We have been waiting for this for a year, and it's going to be nuclear for all assets. On November 7th at 2 o'clock ET time, we have the FOMC meeting. This also is going to be nuclear for all assets. Now, currently, Trump looks like it's going to win. But I don't really trust Polymarket or any of these type of polls. I think it's far, far closer. I really do think it's a 50-50 shot on who's going to win. The problem with that is that the market has baked in a Trump win. That's why it's rallied. That's why it came to where it was. The reason for this is that he's seen as the more business-friendly president. It's less regulation, less tax, and a more forward-thinking, open president. Now, Kamala, I think will still be good for the market, but it is less so than Trump. The issue with that is that if Kamala wins, it's going to be a shock to the market. And I think short term, it will cause a pullback. It will cause a lot of issues and it's going to be crazily choppy. Now, what I will say is that if Trump wins, there will be the opposite. There will be a pump, a strong pump, because that is a continuation of what the market has already baked in. Now, in relation to Bitcoin, Trump is seen as the Bitcoin president. He's the one that's seen to be positive towards it, positive regulation. He wants to put it onto the books. It's seen to be a really good thing for Bitcoin. And I think short term, this definitely will pump the market if he wins. And we think that Kamala is not really the Bitcoin president and will cause a negative down spike in Bitcoin if she wins. Well, short term maybe, but I think long term, there isn't really too much difference between the two. I mean, she's taking her understanding, changing a bit. She's getting money from various crypto projects. And I think long term, both are going to be somewhat the same in the future. And if we look at this graph, which is a really, really good graph, by the way, it shows all the elections coming up to this point. And we see that the incumbent and the president, and we actually see in some of these elections that some of the candidates that were not popular winning. But what's key is that on the day there could be some pullbacks, if especially it's the one that they don't believe was going to win or they wanted to win. But eventually by the end of the year, all of that has sorted itself out. If you made it this far, consider liking, following and sharing, because I give information that most people don't see on this network. Now with the FOMC, this, I believe, is far more important than the election, because what will happen here will dictate what happens to the end of the year and following on into 2025. Now, there was a fear that if the Fed all of a sudden does a 50-point basis cut, that the markets will absolutely tank. And I agree with that because it's something that is not expected. And to be honest, I have zero thought that that is what's going to happen. The Fed would not do a surprise cut like that without giving level of information to the market. It knows that everything's on an edge at the moment, and I genuinely believe a 25 basis point cut will happen. There were thoughts that it may not happen because jobs data was good and vice versa, but I think in between the two, I think a 25 basis point cut will happen, and that will be a further continuation to what the market expects, and that will ultimately pump this market further. Now, in relation to Bitcoin, that is a bit worrying. That's a massive wick, and that usually would indicate a reversal. But I'm not too sure. I think this is just a de-risking event due to uncertainty of this week. You need to understand there is going to be heavy manipulation in the market. There is going to be things that you're not going to happen, and it's going to test your nerve. So if I were you, stay away from any type of leverage trading, because that is a wild wick, and we need to stay above the 69,000 mark and hold that strong for this to be a continuation. I'm going to say that it's going to happen in that manner, but that choice is yours. This graph should give you a bit of an indication of why I think this is going to be a further continuation. See, what you need to understand is that we have broken all-time highs. We've had higher lows. And at the first of every month, we see that dip happening. And this dip is justified because we have an election where we don't know who's going to come. We have an FOMC where there's extra thoughts on what's going to happen, and uncertainty is the destroyer of all risk assets. But I am betting to the upside, and that is my thought. Anyway, I'm Alvarez, a 7-figure crypto investor. Like, follow, share, and I'll catch you guys later.